To install the spare tire rack on your RZR Pro R, follow these steps. Park the vehicle on a flat level surface. Ensure it is in park, and remove the key. Before beginning, identify the left and right striker assemblies. Next, position the nut plate behind the mounting bracket on the upper rear portion of the roll cage. Then, align the striker with the mounting holes, and install the two provided fasteners. Tighten the fasteners enough to hold the striker in place, but still allow the striker to move up and down. Before continuing, repeat this process on the other side. Next, align the mounting holes on the pivot bracket with the lower clamp, and install two fasteners until fully seated, but do not torque at this time. On multi-passenger vehicles, the additional provided spacers will need to be installed. Then, repeat this process for the other pivot bracket assembly. Next, measure from the most forward point of the striker weld bracket and up along the ROPS tube. Mark the measurement on the tube with a marker or piece of tape. Then, repeat for the other side. Then, install the pivot clamp assembly with the top clamp with the rear of the bracket on the marked area. And secure with 4 fasteners. The assembly should be loose enough that it can be repositioned with a soft face hammer if needed. Next, rotate the pivot clamp assembly up to gain access to the pivot bracket fasteners. Torque the pivot bracket fasteners to specification and rotate the pivot assembly back down. Before continuing, ensure the area between the pivot clamp and the bracket are properly spaced apart. Next, with the aid of an assistant, lift the tire rack into the bed of the vehicle. And rest the latches onto the striker brackets for proper alignment. Tap the pivot brackets into place against the tire rack. Then, install the provided pivot pins through the bracket, and then through the spacer into the tire rack. Before continuing, double-check all measurements to ensure they are accurate. Lightly tighten the brackets as needed to hold them in place. Next, torque the pivot bracket clamp fasteners to specification. Tap the top of the pivot brackets with a soft hammer to help remove gaps between brackets, and re-torque the fasteners. Then, torque the pivot pins to specification. When the tire rack is lowered, the latches should hit the strikers simultaneously. If adjustment is needed, ensure the striker brackets are at equal height to one another. Also, ensure the latch is fully engaged with the striker rod when the tire rack is lowered. Next, torque the striker bracket fasteners to specification. Then, torque the latch fasteners to specification. Once fasteners are torqued, verify proper operation of the tire rack. Continue by installing each strut onto the tire rack and pivot bracket. Install the push rod end of the strut into the mounting hole on the pivot bracket. Then, unlatch the spare tire rack and lift up to align the other end of the strut with the mounting hole in the tire carrier. Using a wrench, tighten until fully seated. To operate the rack with no load, apply downward pressure to the handle of the rack, and pull the actuator cable rearward simultaneously to release the latches from the strikers and raise the rack. To secure a wheel to the rack, begin by placing it on the center of the rack. Next, attach the rear point of the 3-point harness to the tire rack. Then, attach the 2 side straps to their attachment points on the rack. Continue by running the rear of the harness through the ratcheting portion of the strap. Then, center the harness by tightening the 2 upper straps. Finally, tighten the ratchet to secure the spare tire to the carrier. To operate the rack under load, pull the actuator cable rearward to simultaneously release the latches from the strikers and raise the rack. For more information, see your authorized Polaris dealer or visit Polaris.com.